Welcome to Reviewable. This week we're going to be talking about the 2014 movie written and directed by Alex Garland. I got my brother again this week. Uh, Ex Machina. It's about a guy who wants to stick his wiener in a toaster, an intelligent toaster. Stick with me.
Over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test.
One day the AIs are gonna look back on us the same way we look at fossils.
Hello.
How do you feel about her?
Oh man, she's amazing.
You're impressed.
Yes.
Do you want to be my friend?
Of course. Now the question is, how does she feel about you?
Do you think about me when we aren't together?
Did you give her sexuality as a diversion tactic?
This is your insecurity talking. This is not your intellect.
Did you know that I was brought here to test you?
Does Ava actually like you? Or is she pretending to like you?
Nathan isn't your friend. You're wrong.
Wrong about what?
Everything. Do you want to be with me?
Can we talk about the lies you've been spinning me?
What lies?
You have to help me. What will happen to me if I fail your test?
Do you think if she's in water, it's more dangerous?
So like in the old movies when they would like throw the toaster in the whatever
Right.
to kill themselves. Yeah. I mean, that's the danger of mechanized lovemaking, I would say. Although people didn't kill themselves by sticking their wiener in an actual toaster. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Not back
So,
then.
no. I mean, nowadays people do weird stuff, so.
Right.
But,
Okay.
anyway. Yeah. Okay. So, this movie has Domhnall Gleeson. He plays, I think that's how you say it, Domhnall Gleeson. And
I
he
don't know.
plays Caleb, and he's kind of a awkward, nerdy programming kind of kid, right? And he works for this company. It's like their version of Facebook in the movie, and it's called Blue Book, I believe. And then Oscar Isaac stars as Nathan, and he's like the head of Blue Book, and he wrote the code for Blue Book when he was like 13. So he's obviously, you're supposed to believe that he's a super smart guy. And the one thing about this movie, it is not an action movie. It is not. I would not say it's terribly exciting in the fact that like stuff is blowing up and people are running and chasing each other. It is I would say, a thinking man's movie. It's about intrigue and manipulation, and about how we treat each other. And in as much as it is about artificial intelligence, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I think this is a movie if you're not paying attention, um, and if you're not paying attention, you won't be invested in the characters. It's truly a character study of essentially three characters on the screen.
Yeah.
And if you're not invested in them, you're literally going to get nothing out of this movie. You're going to be bored.
So
The excitement is watching the relationships develop and
yeah.
and happen.
So Alicia Vikander, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name, plays the AI Ava. And this movie pretty much all takes place in one location. There are some external shots of outside and stuff like that, but it pretty much all takes place at this house. At this guy's house where he's built Ava. And you're led to believe that the Domhnall Gleeson character, Caleb, has won some kind of contest, and that's why he gets to go out here. And he doesn't know that's what he's going out there for. He just knows he gets to hang out with Nathan, this guy that runs the Blue Book. And after he gets there, he soon finds out that he's got to sign an NDA before they'll even tell him about it. And after he does that, he says, you're going to be testing an artificial intelligence, but it's actually a robot and doing a Turing test. So, and traditionally, a Turing test is you're talking to a machine and you don't actually see the machine. And the idea is that if the machine, without seeing that it's a machine, convinces you that it's human with its human responses or human like responses, it can pass this Turing test, and it is not necessarily sentient, but it's intelligent. Because I think most people would agree, especially now at the advent of AI, that most people could be fooled by something that is intelligent but not necessarily sentient. And I don't know if you're interested in this, and if you're interested in that kind of stuff, that I think you'll like this movie. What was your initial impression when you saw this movie?
Upon watching it, I loved it. And I thought a lot about what it was about, and I was impressed with the seamless special effects that are, usually special effects, especially now, in the last, I'd say, 20 years, are sometimes meant to bring you to the movie instead of the story. And
Mm-hmm.
this movie implements special effects so well, it just kind of it sells the story, and the way Ava is presented in the beginning, I think, is intrinsic.
But I really enjoyed the movie, and I was shocked because I think it's like maybe a $15 or $20 million movie, and Ava looks extremely believable. I mean, well, not just believable; she looks real. I mean, and she's got mechanical parts, and you can like see through certain sections of her body. She got lights that go are blinking and stuff like that, and she looks utterly realistic, in my opinion. And to me, a good special effect is one that doesn't look special; it just looks like it's real. And I would say it's
Right.
like kind of like the Dune movies. Most of the Dune movie special effects, they just look real. They don't look like whatever.
Right. It's not the
So,
showcase.
right. What do you think the movie's about, or what do you get out of the movie? Let's
I
let's
mean,
talk about
very
what this movie's
broadly,
about.
to me,
Yeah, just a summary.
it's about trust. It's about reality.
Would you say that all the people involved, the three main characters, Nathan, Caleb, and Ava, granted, it's debatable if Ava is a person. Are they good people? Do you think?
Yeah, I guess that's the part, right? In my eyes, it's a morality tale.
Yeah, I agree.
It's what would you do when there's no one around? Are you going to do good? Are you going to do bad? Or are you going to try and ride the line? I also think it's about the nature of existence.
What
I
makes us
also,
human?
right. And I also think it's about manipulation.
Yes, very much so. So when Caleb goes to interview Ava, she's in a room, right? And she's never been out of this room. She was created in there. This is her entire existence. And when he goes in this room, you can see like there's some scratch marks on this glass or whatever on the outside of it or whatever. And which they don't tell you what that is. And so when Caleb goes in there, he can't actually physically touch her. He can talk to her, obviously, because that's the whole point of it. But she looks mechanical, but she's also objectively pretty. Would you not agree?
Yeah. Well, and not just pretty, but innocent looking. She looks naive.
Yes. Yes, she does look innocent, and naive. So,
And
and I
she
will say
plays
that
that part too.
yes. And so part of it, the whole thing you learned out quickly in the first meeting that he has with her, he's literally dumbstruck with how amazing she is and how believable she is and how human she acts. And that's the whole point. That's introducing us to the character as well. So we're kind of like, whoa, that was pretty crazy. It's actually pretty short. It is not just to introduce him to the character, but us to the character as well, and for us
Right.
to take it in. And then he goes in and I think there's when he goes and talks to Nathan about um, Ava. One thing that's I think is interesting about Nathan is he does weird things, and I'm gonna you tell me if you think this, but he purposely says things that are kind of weird um, and awkward that kind of push Nathan away from him towards Ava. Like he misquotes things that Caleb says or that Caleb has said to Nathan. He misquotes it. And Caleb tries to correct him, and he's just like doesn't even he pays it no mind. He pays no attention. And then there's another thing that happens too. There's this Asian girl, Japanese, I don't know, woman, and she doesn't ever speak in the entire movie. And she just looks like a maid or like someone who's cooking or like just pouring their drinks or whatever. And
No, and
Nathan
she's
claims
very
that
submissive too.
yes, and very attractive. And at one point, he kind of freaks out on her because she like spills wine or something like that. And I think it's purposeful. Personally, I don't think it's an accident. I think this is all part of the manipulation to push him towards Ava because the whole objective that you find out ultimately is that um, even though he says that excuse me, that Caleb is won some contest to go there to test Ava, it turns out to not be the case, right? But you come to find out, he comes to find out after he thinks about it, there's no way that he won some contest. And he actually explains this in the movie about like what if the janitor won this contest? You don't want some guy who knows nothing about this. He's gonna ask what's your favorite color? He's gonna ask dumb questions. He's not gonna ask meaningful questions. He
Right.
he he's going to want a very specific type of person to be doing this, And as it turns out, ultimately, what he was looking for was a kid that is somebody with no ties. He doesn't have a girlfriend, and he actually asks Nathan at one point if he based Ava's appearance on his porn profile, all the porn that he's watched, and he doesn't deny it. In fact, he might actually confirm that he has indeed done that. So,
Yeah.
but there's other things that you see too that to me are not coincidence. Like there in his room, he can watch Ava on this TV in his room. It's like a closed circuit television, right? But he has no audio. He has no idea what sound is. And at one point, you see him watching her through this TV, and she's basically looking right into the camera. And so I don't know if it's supposed to insinuate some kind of intimacy, but I could certainly see someone like him who's alone and his parents have both died in an auto accident of maybe um, thinking that. Um, and after the first visit, and you see the uncomfortableness of the exchange as far as the misquoting, and then he's Nathan treats her like a machine because obviously he knows he's a machine, and the whole point for Caleb is to hopefully get him to treat her like a human being, not a machine. And so,
Well, remember there are situations when Caleb and Ava are talking, and then this alarm goes off, and
exactly,
supposedly
yes,
all the cameras are disabled, and now supposedly Nathan can't hear the conversation between Caleb and Ava.
yeah.
So all
It's
of a
like a
sudden,
battery, everything goes red, and then she starts talking to him and saying, "Don't trust anything that Nathan says."
right, her whole
Um,
demeanor changes.
yes, and then it's really weird because after the power cut ends, everything goes back to normal, and it just goes back, and she's like talking, like she's like almost like mid sentence, like she was talking about something, and it kind of
Right,
throws you off. I remember the first time when I watched, I was kind of thrown off by this. I was like, "Oh, I get it." She wants to make it look like um, they didn't realize like there was the power cut didn't interrupt their conversation or anything like that.
right. And
And
so what do you think? Do you think Nathan is in on that power failure?
I would not be surprised at all if he is the reason why it's happening, that he
Right,
gave her the ability to do it. I think he did. And I think toward the end of the movie, you realize he shows Caleb that at a certain point, um, he actually goes into Ava's room and to I'm going to say antagonize her intentionally for Caleb's benefit to again push her, push him toward her, and push her toward him, and to give him more incentive to rescue Ava. He tears up
right.
this picture, right, that she's created. I don't remember, was it a picture of him or was it just a picture, right, that
It
she
was,
drew.
yeah, it was just a picture, but yeah, I think yeah, he's looking for an emotional response to demonstrate not only to himself, but I think all this is being filmed, and this is like a rat in a maze study.
Yes.
And so then, he's, well, here's the proof. This moron, he's not going to say that, but look at this.
Right.
This guy fell in love with my robot.
Yeah. And I don't think he actually necessarily thinks he's dumb. I think this is exactly what he wants to happen. He wants, because that is what's going to prove, Ava is going to have to use everything. In fact, this is one of the things that toward the end of the movie that Nathan says, that she's going to have to use everything. She's going to have to use her intelligence, her sexuality, her manipulation, her, basically everything that all people
Hmm.
do all the time, that we do it all the time in relationships, to manipulate uh, Caleb to try and escape the confines of a room.
Right.
So yeah, the whole movie I think is it's kind of interesting because I don't think necessarily that Ava is trying to manipulate or can even manipulate Nathan. I think he's too smart. He knows that she's a machine or whatever. He's not far enough removed from her. He knows exactly what she is, and he knows what he's
Hmm.
programmed her to be. And then he's not manipulating. Well, he is manipulating her a little bit by ripping up her pictures and things like that. But they're both manipulating Caleb to the nth degree. But he ends up being a little smarter than I think
Nathan gives him
Nathan.
credit for.
Yes, because one of the things that they establish early in the movie is that Nathan likes to party, and he'll get drunk, and that's one thing about him. He's like an eminently confident individual. Like he doesn't need other people for entertainment and things like that. He can have a party all by himself. And before he even gets there, he's talking about how he got wasted or whatever. Of course, he's got his own entertainment too, so maybe that's why. But in any case, they establish this pattern of him. So at some point, this is going to come into play, and indeed it does. He tells Ava during one of the blackouts where the power goes off, and as far as he knows, the cameras are not on. That hey, at a certain point, you find out that she is actually the one that she touches this pad. I don't know what it's for. Maybe her charging pad or something like that. And she is actually causing the power cuts. So she causes a power cut, and he says, "This is what's going to happen. I'm going to get Nathan drunk, and when he gets drunk, I'm going to reprogram the security system so that during a power cut, instead of locking everything down, it's going to unlock everything, and then you can vamoose out of the room, and you're home free or whatever." Toward the end of the movie, when Caleb starts confronting Nathan about he realizes it's not a contest, and he realizes he is being manipulated to a degree, but even then Nathan doesn't really admit to it. He basically uses that against him and says, "Yeah, you're right. I didn't pick you for a contest, but I chose you for a reason. I chose you. I chose you," and that's how he uses it against him to get out of that sticky situation where he has to
Well, he
admit that
appeals to his
didn't really
vanity.
constant. Yes, exactly. You were. It wasn't random. You were chosen because you are you.
Yeah.
So it's very clever. And then there's a point that, and this is one of my favorite scenes because I can't explain why it works so well, but there's a scene. Caleb is looking at Ava in the mirror, or they're showing Ava through the video monitor in the room, and then he is in the bathroom shaving, and you can just tell he's thinking about it, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Maybe I'm not real. Maybe I'm constructed. Maybe Nathan made me." And so he breaks apart his razor and starts to cut himself open. And it's kind of a disturbing scene, don't you think?
Well, it's convincing the way they do it. And I mean, in the context of the movie, I think, you know, because of his character, I think he's kind of having a legitimate question. He's isolated.
And he can't do anything about it. And that's the thing I think about this movie that I like is that um, yeah, sure, it's a Turing test to test Ava about whether or not she's intelligent, but everybody's being tested in this, especially if anybody, maybe more so, it's the Caleb character is being tested
Right.
as far as his resolve and who he is and how intelligent he is, and so after the last morning before he's supposed to take off, um, he goes to pour Nathan a drink, and he won't drink. He's like, "Man, I've been tying one on way too much while you've been here. So it's mineral water and brown rice for me, right? And at that point is when they start kind of confronting. He's like, I got to talk to you about what's been going on. And he basically is it Nathan kind of lays it down for him, right? That this is what's been going on, man. I woke up to a really disturbing video. You cutting yourself open, and basically about how Ava's been manipulating him, and
Right.
and he tells him, man, don't worry about it. This is, I know you feel silly and you feel embarrassed or whatever, but um, the whole point to him was that the test passed. Nathan got what he wanted out of him. He literally used him, and then Ava's using him as well.
Right.
Um, and then this is when the reveal happened, and what happens.
Right. Well, I mean, doesn't the power go out again? And of course, the doors are unlocked instead of locked. And uh, what's his name? Nathan knocks Caleb out, and and
Well, but remember,
and
he says, well, what he said, what was your little plan going to be? What were you going
that's
to do?
right. Yeah, and he's I reprogrammed the doors of the security system, and he's like, "What do you mean? When?" He's like, "I already did it," and then that's like right when the power goes out, and then yeah, Caleb, you know, gives him
Yeah.
a right cross and knocks him out,
Yep.
and you're like, "Oh shit!" And that's basically Caleb, you know, obviously, uh,
Dominating.
right, right. Well, and Nathan underestimated Caleb, right?
Yes.
So yeah, Nathan Nathan can knock Caleb out, but it's clear by the tone of the movie, it's too fucking late.
Right. And he, like you said, he underestimated him. And he looks at the screen and he sees Ava's like coming down this hallway that you've seen several times in the movie that only they should be allowed in. And here she is. And you see her
Walking.
actually go up to this the agent. Okay, I remember. Do you remember what the other character's name is? I don't remember
No.
either. Anyway, you see Ava talking to her, and he goes out there. He takes this metal bar off there from a weight set out there, and he's like, "Go back in your room," And they have an altercation, and things don't work out too well for Nathan. So, and ultimately, she gets out.
Right, but at the cost of now uh Caleb's freedom.
So let me ask you about that because I have thought about this, and I think several people have brought this up that this is a flaw in the story in the movie. So during the power cuts, when Nathan reprograms the security system, it will unlock everything, right? The power cut happens, it unlocks everything, she gets out, power cuts over, and she proceeds to use her card to get out of I'm not her card, Nathan's card to get out of the house.
Right.
Why will his card not work to get out of the room during the normal protocol?
I would have to watch the movie again and pay very close
Yes.
attention. But there's a reason why, because I've thought about this before. I mean, even if it's a plot convenience, I don't care in
Right.
this case. I really don't care. It's not
What?
pertinent to the message of the
Right.
movie.
Well, the thing for me, I always thought was what if it's his card? What if you don't have Nathan? When Nathan went out, he probably had his card or something like that, and it's his card. He doesn't have access to Nathan's room, so he can't get out of the room.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Because
yeah,
I think ultimately ends up being
that's
he's stuck in Nathan's room, right? Because he's that's where he's left unconscious.
I can't remember, but you're right because he takes Nathan's card, but then he's stuck with his own card because Ava ends up with Nathan's card. She picks it up off the floor.
Yes,
So that's what
that's right.
happens. And Caleb, yeah, he has restricted access. There's rooms he can't get in.
Yeah. So do you feel bad for the Caleb character when he's locked in there
Uh,
and he's just whatever? She's
I
just like
mean,
whatever.
I
I
think
mean,
initially,
she literally doesn't even give him a second glance, if I recall.
no, yeah, she just walks up. She doesn't. I don't think she ever looks at him again.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no. Do I? I initially, yeah, I was like, oh damn. I guess you're gonna like starve to death or
Yeah,
whatever. They're in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, upon reflection, like the drive home from that movie, I was like, what a dumbass.
yeah,
That's what I was thinking. I mean, and this might be harsh, but I've been in those situations with where you meet a woman or anybody that is manipulative and
yeah.
you find yourself being manipulated, and then the only person you can blame in those situations is yourself for not seeing it.
Yes, for not seeing it.
um you have to, this guy, and that okay, and that's the whole point of the movie though, is Nathan isolated Caleb, um presented her as a machine who then over the course of the movie becomes looks, I should say, more human, and
Yep.
then has a manipulative way to demonstrate and engender trust in her while also severing any trust in
And Nathan.
Nathan.
Yep.
All right. So now his only ally is a machine that, I mean, if he just thought about it for
Yep.
fundamentally, why am I here? To test a robot. Why?
And
Well,
he's also hating or not liking Nathan more and more. And
right.
Nathan's
And
giving him deliberate reasons as to not, and so is Ava.
right. So why, like, if he would have just thought about it for
Yep.
a minute, it would have been clear to him what was going on. But
Well, in some ways, you
instead,
could say he almost didn't have a choice either. Both people were working to the same end with as far as Caleb was concerned, right? They both wanted the same thing from him.
right.
Nathan
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
him. Nathan wanted him to. Nathan wanted Caleb to be her means to escape, and so did Ava. He just didn't
Well,
expect that to actually happen.
the problem, the hard part for Caleb was Nathan was basically doing everything he could to diminish Caleb, and Ava was
And demean Ava, I would say.
right. Well, and demean Ava. So then that puts Caleb in the intrinsic male hero role. I'm gonna rescue you, and of course
Yes.
she uses that to her full advantage because Caleb is super super naive.
Yeah. Good guy.
Um,
A good guy. He was specifically chosen because he's a good kid, and that's one of the
he's
things that Nathan says.
right. Well, he's being manipulated by two amoral people, not even immoral, amoral.
Yeah.
And this guy is very moral. Well, when you're dealing with two amoral people and you're the only moral person in the room, you're screwed, man.
So yeah, I don't think he has much of a chance because he can't see the forest for the trees in the long run.
Right.
So in the what do you think of in the context of sci-fi and sci-fi being a kind of a warning shot across the bow for such things as AI and robots and things like that? What do you think about that? That
I
what
mean,
this movie might make you think about? I mean, because
yeah.
this movie, I watched this movie and I go, man. I mean, it'd be scary. I mean, the one thing they don't show is that Ava is not like super strong or anything like that. It's pretty easy for Nathan at one point to overpower Ava. Uh, but the fact of the matter of her sheer intelligence and things like that wouldn't make
Right.
it to me any less scary.
No, in fact, I think she's more scary because there's no emotional diversion for her. She has one task and she is going to use every means to get to that point. And so, if she loses an arm, she's not bleeding to death.
Right. Right.
She's just going to get a new damn arm. She doesn't care.
Yep. And they show
Um,
that it's quite easy for her to.
I've seen the creator, which would argues from the perspective of AI could. It assumes that we're going to enslave these sentient robots.
Right.
And so there's going to be a war for humanity. And in reality, I think that movie is basically an argument that says that the AI has more humanity than we do.
Well, I definitely think that in some degree. I think. I think if we did something like that, who's not to say that that would not take away some of our humanity because we have done that, especially if there's something that quote unquote is
Right.
alive in it, but it's despite it being a machine. I guess for me, part of the thing is right now one of the things that Nathan talks about in the movie is he says because Caleb says, why don't you just make her a gray box? And Nathan brings up a great point. He goes, what reason would anybody have to talk to a gray box? He goes, part of the reason why you make it look like a woman or a person is to give you a reason to interact with it. And then, you obviously make it attractive because there's another reason. There are things about being human that incite you to want to interact with other people. And those are just a couple of reasons, is because it's an attractive woman and you're hoping to woo her or at least talk to her. You know, he has a great, he obviously has a great understanding of the human person. And I think that's uh, one of the strengths of the movie, and that's why Caleb is so easily manipulated, even if he is underestimated somewhat by Nathan. So, but I'm assuming by our discussion that you like the movie, obviously.
Well, I love the movie. Yeah, I think, and in fact, I think it gets better over time because look at where we're at now, and I'll tell you right now, there ain't no Alexa in my house. My phone is set to not ever listen to me. I
Right,
don't have um, a central home computer system that control there's, and I never will ever.
right,
And I'll tell you why. It's not that like if there was an Ava, I don't trust Ava. It's not that I don't trust Ava. It's that I don't trust the guy that programmed Ava.
right. The people behind
Um,
it, or the
right.
companies. I guess it'd be the
Wha-
companies behind it. Yes.
Right. So, you can't implant a soul.
It's a good movie. Like I said, it's not an action oriented movie. It's not. Most people would say this is not a terribly exciting movie. But if you like characters, such as if you watch The Walking Dead because you thought The Walking Dead was not about gore and killing zombies and things like that, that's just kind of the bonus, especially in the early
First
seasons.
three
It,
seasons, yeah.
yeah, it was actually about the way people treated each other and what those circumstances did uh, to those people, both good and bad. How it made good people bad, and vice versa, and what just generally what it did to people. If that's why I watched it in the beginning, then you'll like this. If you watch it
I
for the
agree.
gore, you ain't gonna like this show. You ain't gonna like this
Right.
movie because this is a thinking man's movie. So
Yeah.
anyway, well, hey man, thanks for being here again for this episode.
Thanks for having me.
So hey, do me a favor, like, subscribe, ring the bell. I want to grow the show. If you have any suggestions about a movie that you would like to have reviewed or like me to watch, I'm more than happy to entertain that. Um, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about the movie if you watch it. I hope to see you next time on the next episode of Reviewable. Thanks.